Good evening. This is Speak On It, a live and active opportunity for you to view an audience to call in and address with your opinion, your comment, solutions, whatnot, as it relates to the issues that we're going to look at. There's quite a few issues we're going to look at tonight because so much has happened between last Friday and today, but I'm going to try to stay away from the discussion we had last week. And I want to go back to something that we didn't get to last week, and that was something that occurred 4th of July. I was reading the paper, and a gentleman 67 years old from Portage Park asked the question, who made fireworks legal? And I'm telling you, I live in Austin, and every morning, every night, 3 or 4 o'clock, seemed like they're dropping bombs in a war zone. This morning I woke up, gunshots. Now that's on me. You don't like where you live, move out. Okay, I got you. But there are some things we need to look at. And then we're going to look at something else, the Republican convention. And then we want to talk about possibly naturalizing the police department. So we're going to be rolling. You can call here, you see the number on the screen. We also streaming live, you can deal with that. So let me just show you a little something here. Yeah, I'm gonna play with this computer, y'all. You know I really be tweaking. Now, what's supposed to be happening with this screen, I don't know what's happening here, is that there's a situation where on the 4th of July, you see these young people going into the street. And they was engaged in a very dangerous situation. And it appears that we might have caught it at the end, but they were using the fireworks to actually shoot, there you go, to shoot at each other. And I just want you all to look at this. Now, I want you to just tell me, what sense do that make? Who do you blame for this type of insanity? Now, in their minds, they got guns. In their minds, that's cool. You on Western Avenue, right down from a post office. Look at this insanity. 4th of July? Well, they do this all the time. I see it all the time on a major street, wilding out. Now, I would like for you to just think and think about what the police should do if they have to deal with this type of situation. What do the police do? You call the police come, and they catch one of them, confrontation. Now, you all also know that during that weekend, police vehicle was attacked with firecrackers, or fireworks, I should say. Now, you say, well, there's a lot of issues going on. No, let's go back to the basics. This type of behavior leads to other type of behavior. So we get caught up about the police, we get caught up about this, we get caught up about that. But it's a shared responsibility. Parents and grandparents, you need to tell your young people that some of what they do is insane. And you can't blame society for that. You cannot blame the mayor, the alderman, the police. Those are your children. Those are your offsprings. And you know, I ain't call them something else, but ain't going there. Because they're not acting like they got good sense. And I would bet if the police had to stop one of them, that could have caused the accident, could have got somebody run over, it would have been the police's fault. Now, our community is really in crisis. It appears that the last 4th of July, I'm talking about the one that just passed, there might have been a few less killings than there had been. But it wasn't because they weren't trying to kill folk. They had a whole lot of shootings. Folks just didn't die. And now, since what happened last week with the executions and the situation in Dallas, look like they haven't talked about it as much as it relates to the violence in our community. But the truth remains. They still are killing each other in Chicago in the streets. Now, if there's a war, so to say, that takes place in this country, not between the police and Negroes, I pray that don't happen, because you might have these little guns you got, you don't have enough bullets to try to get off into that insanity. So you need to stay in your lane, because you get wiped out. All right, caller, speak on it. Caller, speak on it.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. And I think you raised a wonderful point with regard to some sort of behavior.
I don't know, speak a little louder, because I really can't hear you. Continue. All right, caller, speak on it.
Hello, do you hear me?
I hear you now.
Yes, I think you raised an important issue with regard to behavioral issues. That there are things that we can certainly take issue with. We can talk about the fact that our school system needs to do a better job of educating young people, and that we need to invest in communities. Having said all of that and so much more, I could say you are right in that there's nothing about that. There's nothing about us looking at the fact that, I had a bad teacher this year, or I didn't go to the best high school, that says that explains why I turned around, picked up a gun, and shot the guy who lives across the street from me. How, you're having a bad teacher turns you into a murderer. How you get from point A to point B has nothing to do with one with the other. So I think you're absolutely correct in that, at some point we need to start asking ourselves, how much of this is internally? How many bad people are there in any community? And let's not simply let them off the hook by claiming that they were disadvantaged, because just because you're disadvantaged does not mean there are plenty of people who are disadvantaged in this country who grew up hard, who grew up poor. You, I'm sure, didn't come up, with millions of dollars, but you never picked up a gun and killed anybody. And, let's face it, there are poor people with good values and there are poor people with bad values. And we need to start talking about what the differences are between those two groups of individuals. And you're absolutely right that, that the police out there, that there are good and there are bad police officers. I would say that there does need to be proportionality. Young people who are behaving like young people that will do that, especially in the summer. When the police respond, you cannot show up and go from 0 to 100, meaning from I'm going to come in contact with you to I'm going to shoot you. There's got to be a response between 100 miles an hour and 0 miles an hour. There has to be a 10, a 15, and a 20. How do you respond proportionally so that you don't simply reach for your gun? And that's what I would think is the responsibility of trained professional police officers. But let's face it, it is also the case that there are young people out there whose first response to a police officer showing up is to point a gun at the police. You point a gun at the police and you end up dead.
All right, caller.
That's on you.
I got you. Thanks a lot. But they got a couple other callers. Now, let me just say that what happened is we went to the police and the gun. It's true. But I want to come back to the fireworks, because I think it starts earlier than the 17 or the 16-year-old having the gun, shooting at the police and shooting at other people. It starts with the insanity of fireworks in Chicago anyway, because they've popped fireworks year-round here. Now, if they was going to pop fireworks on designated holidays and in designated areas, cool. But this thing about the police just allowing it to happen, you got people that came from the war, you got senior citizens, you got babies, you got sick people, but they can't rest because the system allows this unlawful behavior that the man was talking about. And what we just saw on the screen is unlawful type behavior. But I want you to understand the connection between them shooting at each other with fireworks and them shooting at each other with guns. That's not a big step. So if you're willing to shoot at each other down Western Avenue with all of these cars, that means you have no respect for your life or other people's lives. We need to deal with our children about how too much play can make you late. You playing. Man, look at the risk. All right, caller, speak on it.
I have experienced fireworks. I mean, I'm a little over 30, but I've experienced fireworks since I was a young girl. This has been going on in my neighborhood in Inglewood since I was a kid. I think that the thing that you are really speaking on is the behavior issues that are connected with the type of individual, the type of kid that would shoot a firework at another kid. I mean, in many instances, these are the same kids that will pick up a gun, and there's the same underlying issue that will cause a kid to shoot a firework at another kid or shoot a gun at another kid, and that's the lack of value for human life, for their life and someone else's life. The fact about, because I mean, fireworks when I was a kid, I mean, it wasn't a thing where it was like you had communities that came together in the middle of the street. You shot them in the air. It was a nice thing. It was for the 4th of July, whatever. But now, because our communities have gotten so much worse, and there's so much more disparity in our communities, and the lack of love and value is even more decreased. I think that's why this is such why this issue is is much more of a detriment.
Well, thank you for your comment. I agree. I think you own it. I mean, I play with firecrackers, but the little firecrackers we have are so small, hell, you can even hear them pop. And I know people like that, but I even wonder, but we won't deal with too much more of this. I even wonder what is the fixation of that sound, because the generations that's doing the firecrackers nowadays, if you mention to their parents about them going into the military, they'll cuss you out. But now you like the sound of war. You like to pretend you in combat. So why don't you just go to the military? Then you will be able to actually appreciate the sound. Because those of us that are veterans, we don't see nothing funny about waking up at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning and you don't know whether or not the whole building is going to fall down. Those are things that we need to deal with, but I'm out of that. Now let's talk about this Republican convention. All right, caller, let's finish that. Speak on it. All right, thank you.
A very interesting topic. You know what? This to me is the plain what you call insanity. Mm-hmm. That's just like a little kid learning how to play Little League baseball. They throwing the fireworks. I even saw where they was throwing quarter sticks of dynamite hiding behind the trees and stuff like that. But anyway, then they get to the insane part. The insane part now is to get the real gun and start shooting at people. Now, another phase of that, there was people in the neighborhood watching these kids throw these things, and they were just laughing and think it's funny, and they was really enjoying themselves. So that means when they get to the insane part and start shooting the guns, only thing they know how to do is pop some popcorn and say they haven't seen nothing, and everybody in the neighborhood know who did it. So like I say, it's a two-part for everything. It just leads on from one thing to another, but the problem is when it's going to stop. Doc, I'm glad to see you back on TV again. Stay on this show. You're a very important part to the community, so we appreciate what you give us. This is Steve. Let me get out there so I can hear your response, and thanks for taking the call.
Thanks a lot, sir. Appreciate it. Now the next issue, because we're running fast. The Republican convention. Okay. I ain't gonna get into all that. I'm going straight to it. We got a couple of organizations, one of them black, and I'm not gonna call their name because I don't want to create that insanity. And then you got another group, and they're Europeans. But they are going to, so they say, exercise their right to carry firearms and protest at the Republican National Convention. Now let me just tell you this here. Let me just ask y'all this. Do it really make sense when you know the mentality of this society right now about guns to be walking around in uniform with guns, rifles or whatnot? I mean, you're really not thinking. And I'm saying this so you can call your relatives. We did stuff like that back in the 60s, but it was almost this crazy, but now it's crazier than this. And people got to understand this here. You gotta use common sense. If you go to that convention, Negroes, and you walking around there talking about, I got the right to carry guns, and you got that gun on your shoulder, and then them white supremacists standing across the street, and then the military, the FBI, the police, and everybody else that you don't know, don't take but one fool, and all hell break loose. But the problem is, that hell affects the whole nation, the whole race, the whole everything. So I'm saying that those of us that are mature, hopefully responsible, we need to start talking to people. Don't think that just because you got a right to do something, it's the responsible thing to do it at any time. There's a time and place for everything, and I'm telling you, this is not the time or the place for no Negro. I don't care nothing about you having the right to carry. You ought to have enough sense now to know that it don't matter. The only thing that carry is gonna get you is a coffin. You need to snap out of it and start trying to stay alive. Don't get a case and don't get a coffin trying to prove a point. Caller, speak on it. Caller? All right, caller. It appears that caller is moving a little slow. Now, I want to move to the last point here. This point is, I read that Ms. Clinton is talking about a national police force. You know, some of us in Chicago would say, well, maybe we need to bring in the National Guard, woo, woo, woo. I know my times of traveling in Africa and in Europe, going here and there, I didn't really see the police. I saw armed, military-looking people with weapons, automatic weapons in the airport, on the street, da-da-da-da-da. Think about National Police Force. On one end, it might be what they need for Chicago, but it's pretty close to the National Guard. But if you keep wilding out and a person become president and you find yourself with a national police force, you're gonna see that the freedoms you thought you had with the police, they're gonna be a little different. You look at TV, you see what happened when the FBI come in. It's a little different, isn't it? All right, caller, speak on it.
Yes, I wanted to say something with regard to your point about the Republican National Convention. They've already made clear, as far as the Secret Service, the various security details that are assigned to the governors that will be there, former presidents and high office holders, that no one is going to be allowed into the Republican National Convention except for the Secret Service and law enforcement that has a gun. You're not going to be able to bring a pop gun. Now, you might come around in and around the convention center in terms of organizing some sort of a protest or exercising your rights there, but you will be blocks away from the convention. The Republicans have already made clear, no matter how much the NRA supports the Republican Party and vice versa, that guns are not coming to the Republican National Convention, which I find interesting. A party that pretends that they support the NRA, but all of a sudden, when it comes to their safety, no, we're not going to have guns in our convention. So it seems, a gun control is perfectly fine for the Republicans when their health is at stake and their safety is at stake. But we can't have gun control anywhere else. But we can have it at the Republican convention because their lives might be at stake. So that's a bit of hypocrisy on their part.
Well, I hear you, and you're right. 2 blocks away, I would suggest to people, don't even go to Ohio at all with that on your mind. Because if you go there, there's so much you can run into. But it ain't my call. People do what they want to do. But what has happened is that our communities, and not just Negro communities, but our communities have somehow or another gotten caught up. And some of the things that you might not pay attention to is some of these executive orders that the president has given, and some of these executive decisions that he's put in place. Now, when it's all said and done, they already got something in place to take care of all of this here. When they get ready and they get tired of it, it's over with. And all I'm saying is, people, let's calm down and take a step back. And let's just understand that all of us trying to be here. And in order to be here, we got to respect each other. In order to be here, we got to be responsible. In order to be here, we got to be accountable. That goes for the police. That goes for the citizen. That goes for all of us. And that's just how it is. This is Speak On It, a live opportunity for you to call in here and spit. Caller, speak on it. Speak louder.
Yes, hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Speak.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. I just want to ask one simple question. This may sound crazy. At the end of the day, brother, is this just simply at the end of the day about black fear, about the rise of black people? About black fear, about the rise of black people? I mean, I just don't understand it every day.
I don't know what's happening. You got a bad connection, but I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't know what it's about. But I believe that on both ends, people have been doing too much, been going too far. And as it relates to Negroes, those of us that look in the mirror every day, we already know. No matter how we want to pretend that everything is cool, it ain't gonna never be cool like that. So I know this is gonna sound real Sambo-ish, but I own that. Sometimes you gotta know how to finesse a situation. So if you are approached, instead of going to 10, just try to figure out, if they give you a chance, figure out how to finesse out of the situation. But now we saw what happened last week. There wasn't no finessing. And it happens all the time everywhere. It ain't no finessing. But I think we know that we have to take responsibility of doing whatever it takes to be here. Because there are those in uniforms and others that don't want you here. And the bottom line is, that's their business, but staying alive is our business. Now, one of the things I was looking at over the week, I'm on Facebook. And for those of you all that be hitting us up on Facebook, just type in Lincoln Ashford, and we be doing a little commentary all the time. Not no talking, but I might comment on a little something, and woo, there it is. So I think it's a process. Sharing information, dropping knowledge, trying to get understanding. So we do Hotline 21, we do that, and we hoping that in the end, somehow or another, we all figure out how to communicate to the people in the community, whether they're young people, just older people that ain't out of it yet, how to communicate to these people so we can have peace. And the important thing, particularly now, this is election season. And during the election season, the politicians, law enforcement become more on edge. So if they on edge, we gotta sort of like stay away from the edge. We gotta sort of like be like the comedian. You just move around, and try not to get too close to danger. Try not to get too close to death. And some of y'all, I be looking at y'all, man, y'all be pushing it. Stop pushing it, man. Don't push it, just be cool. It's better to be cool and don't be in the joint. Better to be cool and not be planted than it is for your boy to put you on Facebook and saying how down you are. Yeah, you are down. Caller, speak on it. Caller, speak on it.
Yeah, I was just calling to speak on the situation last week about the police who shot the gentleman in the car. See, this what bothers me. They let these police keep these guns and stuff after the situation. Why is that so? That bothers me. Like, it's okay. Why should we have to give up our stuff and then they still get to keep theirs? It's not even fair. They wouldn't have shot a white boy like that. They wouldn't have shot an Asian person like that. Can you help me out with that?
I hear you, and you're absolutely right. This whole thing, and that's why Ms. Clinton probably talking about a national police force, because she probably know the police need to be putting down some stuff too. And some of them ain't got no business there, and we understand that. And when black folks try to get in there, they use a psychological assessment and saying none of us got enough sense to be the cops. All right, y'all, until next week, we're going to call it a day. But until then, just understand the play. Don't get took out.